Good God, guys, you're getting really stocked with videos, unfortunately for you lot. But I wasn't originally going to do a video about this just because, well, I couldn't really find the energy to. But I figured that a few people might be somewhat interested in my thoughts on this. So as you guys know, recently Jon McLaughlin has left Sunderland. He's agreed a 2-year deal with Scottish Premiership side Rangers. There's just a lot of... I'm not as angry or annoyed as I really thought I would be because, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm not happy about it because we've lost our best goalkeeper and there's really no way that it should have come to this point. You know, if you were to rewind back to a year ago, and I do think a lot of people, and admittedly I've probably been guilty of this myself, a lot of people tend to really have a go at Stuart Donald and Charlie Methven and overanalyse what they say a bit too much. But this is one thing that you really can point towards them, which is, we said a year ago that we were interested in no less than $5 million for Jon McLaughlin, and obviously that's probably to throw clubs off the scent. But nevertheless, you know, that hasn't happened, has it? We've let him go for free. Now, the biggest annoyance for me is, you know, I do wish Jon McLaughlin had decided to sign the contract. Obviously, I'm not going to pretend I'm, you know, not at least a bit disappointed with him. But at the same time, I can't blame him really because Rangers are one of the biggest clubs in the world. They're a huge club, and it's closer to his hometown team, well, hometown nation. You get what I mean? It's Scotland, nonetheless. He's playing for a decent. He's probably going to be playing in some Scottish Cup games. You know, if he breaks into that Rangers side, he's breaking into a decent side, really. So I don't. In some respects, I don't blame him. Look, this is purely Sunderland's fault. This because. I know people have, you know, if people say compare him to the Josh Maja situation, the difference for me, kind of, is that Maja was from Ellis Short's regime and from the previous regime before Stuart Donald and Charlie Methven took charge of the club. And really, the previous regime didn't bother to sort out that contract, and therefore Donald Methven, while we didn't cover ourselves in glory there, left ourselves, you know, we weren't left in a good situation there. They weren't left in a good situation, really. And at top of that, you've got Maja's agent, who was clearly deliberately screwing Sunderland over and not even attempting to try and help Maja sign a contract. Now, don't get us wrong, Maja has gone on to do well for himself in Bordeaux, but I'm still bitter about the way he left. I think that Maja, you know, lying to people and saying, oh no, I'm happy to stay, and then does a convenient, very convenient 180 as soon as the window opens, doesn't sit well with me at all. But nevertheless, they were left with that decision, whereas McLaughlin was purely signed under Stuart Donald's tenure and ownership. And really, for me, like I said, a year ago, there were talks of the new contract being signed. Jack Ross had even kind of hinted at it himself. Jon McLaughlin hinted at it himself numerous times in the press, and he can say, oh, do you believe what the press say? Well, yeah, actually I do. I do believe that Jon McLaughlin would have wanted to stay. And you can say, oh, well, he would have wanted championship wages and all that. But for me, surely he's worth keeping for that. Just because he's probably saved a good number of points. Although I will stress, I do think it is embarrassing that one of Sunderland's best players since dropping into League One has been their goalkeeper. Because really, Sunderland should be the team dictating a lot of games and taking it to a lot of teams instead of relying on our keeper to get us wins. So, or points rather, for that matter. But look, good luck to Jon McLaughlin. All the best to him. I do wish he'd chosen to stay, obviously, but you know, I'm not surprised by the decision. Sunderland only have themselves to blame. Like I said on SCFC Fan TV last week, and like I said on my Twitter handle at MichaelBowers15, if you want to follow the plug that I'm doing there. You know, Sunderland only have themselves to blame for that situation. They had many months to sort that contract out and chose not to do it. So that's purely their decision, and they should be the one bearing the consequences of that. So look, I think that now that Jon McLaughlin's gone, I now expect Sunderland to use those wages to go and adequately get other players in other positions, because I do think Lee Burge is good enough, and I'm still relieved that he's there. Jam Sarni's writing when he says it that, you know, oh, we'll settle for someone who's not quite as good. Like, well, no, we want someone of Jon McLaughlin's standard or better, really. Personally, I think Burge will be number 1, and Anthony Patterson, who has recently signed a contract, will be number 2. Very quickly, Chris Maguire has signed a new deal. I'm not surprised about that one because, let's be honest, if Sunderland had gotten promoted, he probably wouldn't be good enough for the Championship. In fact, I'm pretty certain he wouldn't be good enough for the Championship, and he'd probably have to go to without being disrespectful, a lesser club. This is the biggest club Maguire's ever going to play at, and it's not arrogant, and it's not arrogant to say that. So, yeah, that's at least something. If Burge is going to continue what he was like last season, which I think he was good enough, then fair enough. Patterson might be ready to step up for number 2, and if you're in League One, you've got to be at the point where you're ready to make a claim into the first team squad. It just means now we've got McLaughlin, Watmore, Lafferty, Ozturk, Baldwin, Lynch, Robson. We've got all those wages to play with now. And I think there's absolutely no excuse now to not go and use that to sign some of the best free agents of the window. There's no, the contracts might officially end on the 30th of June. It doesn't mean we can't have a conversation. No. Take care, guys. Love yous all lots. Another video. So apologies if it's getting too much for you, but hopefully you somewhat enjoyed it. Take care, guys, and stay safe. Love yous all.